Hey guys, coming as my for Awkward, Season 5, Episode 8, an Indecent Promposal, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. I mean, last week's episode really surprised me and went a very good direction. I was definitely hoping this episode would be just as great, and I have to say, I really love this episode for the most part. I thought this was a really fun episode. It did have one problem that I was kind of annoyed by, which I will get into, but overall, I did really enjoy it, and the thing is, I can't really complain because we have 3 episodes left of, Palos Hills. Guys, we're really getting down to the wire here. I mean, after next week's prom episode, the graduation episode happens after that. So, we only, if you're not liking where they're going, you can't really complain because they have 3 episodes left of being in Palos Hills, and then the show completely changes. And I don't know if it's really going to work, but, it is what it is, so I can't really say what they're gonna do because that's just how they're doing it. But I definitely really love this episode for the most part, and let's get into it because I thought it was really great. So Jenna is thinking about her whole thing with Matty, and she kind of regrets what she did, even though she understands, why she was doing, even though it was a mature thing to do, she still feels really bad, which is understandable. I mean, Matty obviously really did like her, and she can see that, and she can tell that he is really crushed over it, and I like seeing that. And she talks about how prom is coming up and it's the most important day of the year and she'll never have her dream prom with Matty because she made this decision. And again, I don't think this is necessarily just about Matty. I think it's more about her just not getting to do what she wanted to do and kind of how she's growing up. And she needs to kind of put her dreams aside and focus on reality. And there's this guy on there's this, basically she talks about how everyone is doing a promposal and she really isn't. And there's this guy on a unicycle, she knocks him over, it was very funny. And she tells him that, she hopes that the girl that he's saying that he's going to propose to for prom says yes. And I thought that was very funny. And I definitely really love that. So I thought that was a really great opening. And I definitely enjoyed that. So Jen and Tamara are then talking, and we still get to see that mature side Tamara in this episode, because, you'd think Tamara would be extremely psyched over prom, and that she would want this to be the greatest thing ever. But that's actually not what they're talking about. Jen and Tamara are actually talking about Val. I guess Val is now staying with Jenna again, and how she's sleeping on their couch, and, Tamara then gets what she thinks is a promposal, but it's actually for another guy, and Tamara's not at all into promposals, which I actually like seeing Tamara not as focused on this. Tamara in season 3 or season 2, even season 4, would have think this was the greatest thing ever, would have been hyped up over it, and would have just been psyched out of her mind. That's just, how you think Tamara would react, but that's not how she's reacting. Instead, Tamara feels that it's kind of shallow and that is stupid because a real proposal is really what matters to her. And that's understandable. It really is showing how she's grown up because obviously, she thinks proposals are really stupid and she's not really a fan of them. And definitely, I definitely like seeing that, and she talks about how she's just completely against prom, she doesn't really want anything to do with it, and, Jenna talks about how she's planning on going to prom with Matty, and Tamara tells her that she is Matty obsessed, which I thought was pretty funny, and she talks to Jenna about how Matty and her, she's always gonna go pining back for Matty, and that I thought was kind of annoying. The fact that Jenna, even though she made this decision, why the hell do you want to go to prom with Matt? You just, hurt his feelings. Why did you want to do this? I don't know. I get that she still has feelings for him, but I thought we made it clear that she was past all this, and I was really hoping we were, and I'm hoping that they're not getting redundant. This is really my only complaint in this episode. There were a few times where I'm seeing a bit of redundancy, and I don't want to see that because the show is best when it's not redundant and when it focuses on, realistic elements. And I'm not saying that this wasn't a realistic element, it's just that I felt this was a bit redundant and kind of uncalled for. So they have that whole conversation, and then we see Jake and Maddie, and this was really interesting. This episode did have a lot of plot put into it, like last week's episode. This was a very plot-filled episode. Jake asks how Maddie's date went, and Maddie says that he really doesn't know how things went with Jenna, and he really doesn't know what's going to happen there. And he was planning on asking her to prom, but he's not going to now. And he actually ends up asking Jake to prom, which I thought was pretty funny. But Jake basically tells Maddie that he's actually planning on taking a gap year. He wants to take a gap year, and I don't think that's a bad thing to do. I think that could be a good thing. Maybe you just don't find the right school. I can totally understand if someone wants to take a gap year. I don't see a problem with that, really. And, Jake basically tells Matty that it's better for him to be, he can stay closer to Matty. He can go to Berkeley where Matty will be partying, and he can go visit Gabby at Stanford. So it really is a win-win situation for everyone. And of course, he wants to make money. So I like seeing Jake not really knowing what to choose, and I thought that was definitely very well done. I would have thought that Matty would have been the one to do that, but the fact that Jake did, I think, is also very interesting. Sadie and Sergio in this episode, really abrupt stuff between them, but you kind of saw it coming because Sadie's really pissed off at Darlene. She's ignoring our calls. She wants nothing to do with her. She's constantly trying to call her, but Sadie does not want to talk to Darlene. Like I said, her relationship with Darlene is probably over. I don't see things going on with that. Her and Sergio, however, it's not the best because he's talking about how something's going to happen to his food truck and, something's changing there, and basically she doesn't want to talk about it. She tells him that I don't give a fuck about it. I want to focus on, I'm going through a lot, and she's yelling at him, screaming at him, and he's really pissed about it. And we realize that he has something else planned. He calls this guy and he says, I'm ready, do what you need, I'm in, and we don't really know what he's talking about, but there clearly is something that he's in for, and we'll talk about that. Theo and Cole in this episode, probably the most we've seen Theo and Cole in any episode. I mean, Theo and Cole are primarily background characters, but they actually had a plot line in this episode. Basically, Theo is now with this, Cole's dating this guy, and Theo thinks it's extremely just typical and generic, and, Theo and Cole are so they're so common. They don't like people that are common, and I love the scene where Theo's like, oh well, next you're gonna be having inspirational quotes on Facebook, and I thought that was definitely very funny. And Theo doesn't really think that Cole should go to this prom, but Cole obviously really, this guy, Cole's boyfriend's obviously very into it, and I definitely like seeing that. And I like seeing Theo and Cole actually not date each other, because you think they date each other, but that's not what's going on here. They're actually trying to be friends, and I thought that was interesting because a lot of shows that have gay characters don't really try to do that, and Awkward is a show that did, and I think it's really cool that they're doing that. I definitely like that. So, Tamara, meanwhile, really does not want to focus on prom at all. She wants them to pick a theme. She's not into it whatsoever. Lissa, though, really is into it, and Jake talks about, how important prom is. Jenna really isn't that into it. You can tell very much either. And, she talks about, and Tamara tells Lissa that if she's so into it, she should take over. So, Tamara was going to do it because obviously she's class president, but she has Lissa do it. So Lissa's going to now be the head of the prom committee. She's going to be the deciding factor. And things are probably going to be very weird because Lissa's in charge. I mean, how else wouldn't it be weird? I do have one problem with Lissa's characters, that they set up a really funny plot point with Lissa being the guidance counselor of the school, and we haven't seen any of that since episode 4, and I hope before this season over, before we leave Palos Hills, I want to see a bit more of that, because that was very funny, and I know Lissa's going to have a lot to probably next week, but I would have wanted to see more of her be the guidance counselor, because I thought that was very funny that we saw that, definitely. I like that. So Tamara and Jenna basically are talking, and Jenna talks about how she doesn't want to go to prom and how she's happy that Tamara is doing this, and they decide to make Jenna comes up with this idea of making a do not ask list, and Tamara is totally into this. They don't plan on going at all, but then Jenna realizes that she's actually nominated for prom queen, so she can't really say no. She pretty much has an obligation to go, which I think is definitely very interesting that Jenna got nominated, and it very much is reminiscent of season 1 with the winter formal. If you remember, she got nominated for that, didn't think that was going to happen, and she goes to, and obviously she's also worried that it's going to end up like that, where she was nominated as a joke, and she sees that Kyle was also nominated, and she can tell that Kyle feels very out of place, and she realizes that Kyle was actually nominated as a joke. They didn't actually mean to nominate him. They nominated him as a joke, which is really sad, but I'm not surprised that they did that. And Jenna obviously feels very awkward around Matty. Obviously, he was nominated for Prom King as well. So they're trying to do the rehearsal, prom court practices, and I don't know really what you call it, but they take the picture. Jenna's really not into it, and that's what happens there. So Tamara asks Jenna asks Jenna why she's so happy about this and that she really shouldn't go to prom. But Jenna's telling her it's a big opportunity. And Tamara comes up with this idea that maybe she should go to prom so that way she can win prom queen. And, Jenna thinks she might actually have a good chance to win because this isn't like the winter formal. And I like seeing Jenna realize that it's not like it is. It's not like it was in the winter formal. She thought it was, but it's not because they've changed, they've grown up, they've moved past that. Even though Kyle was obviously nominated as a joke, Jenna was not, but she does plan on going with Kyle to prom. It seems like that's who is giving her escort, but Tamara tells her to win it so that way she can make a huge speech about how pointless prom is and how it's ridiculous, and basically they have this great plan, and I hope it works out because if that happens, that could be very funny, and I'm definitely hoping it works out for them because I think it's very funny what they're going to do there. So Jake then does this really great thing. I always love it when Jake sings, and we really haven't touched upon that in a while. And Jake gives Gabby the best, awesome prom proposal. He literally sings to her in the library. Basically, this is Glee all of a sudden. It's pretty crazy. He sings to her in the library, and people are singing along, and it's all a song about how he wants to go to prom with her. If you guys remember that video, I don't remember who did it, but of course, if you guys have seen it, we all know that video of that guy singing that song about wanting to take a girl to prom. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like it was a song about going to prom, and that very much reminded me of that. And Gabby obviously says yes. I mean, I don't see how you can say no to something like that. I mean, just if someone, if someone were to ask someone to prom through a song, I don't see how you can say no. I really don't. I mean, that's awesome. They put so much work into it. And me personally, when it comes to promposals, obviously, I'm the one that's obviously doing it, but from my perspective at least, what I see is it seems like, the effort is what's put into it. And the more effort, Jake really put some creativity and effort into that. So I'm happy that Gabby said yes. However, I'm starting not to like Gabby as much, especially in this episode. I think Gabby and Jake might not actually be that good for each other. Because he tells Gabby right then and there that, he did this for her and he wants to take her to prom and they're going to graduate and he's going to go to a state and he's going to go take a gap year. And Gabby is not okay with this. She tells him that, no, I don't want you to do this. Don't take a gap year. And she's really pissed at him for doing this. And, definitely that was very interesting to see. She does not want him to do this and she's not into it. So basically that's what happens there. So Sergio then shows Sadie that he's now taken over the business. He's now head of the food truck. They're gonna rename it Sergio's, and she again is not into this. She says, "I don't care. I'm busy with Darlene. I got problems here," and she just doesn't really want to talk to him at all. And I felt really bad for Sergio. Definitely, I really do feel bad for him, and I like seeing that. So Matty, Tamara's gone through with her do not ask list, even though she knows that Jenna is going to prom. She's gone through with it because she is completely against it. I love seeing Tamara just go full on, military, basically. I mean, that scene with the whistle was very full on military, and it was really great. And Matty asks Tamara what she's doing, and Tamara talks about how Jenna came up with the idea, and Matty says, realizes that of course Jenna would come up with the idea because he wanted to take her to prom. He wanted to take her to prom, and she knew that, and how she broke his heart and everything. He's just really upset about what happened with Jenna, obviously. He feels like he ruined things with Jenna, and I like seeing him, feel like I like seeing that sorrow that Matty is going through, definitely. So, basically, she's made this list and everything, and Jake and Matty's really upset about it. Sorry, guys, got an itch on my nose, but, Matty's really upset about it, and he doesn't want her to really make this list, and basically, that's what happens there, and, I definitely like seeing Tamara go through making the list, but meanwhile, Cole does ask the guy to prom, and Theo's okay with it. Theo, gets over it, he says he understands why, and Cole tells him that it's a big deal, and Alyssa asks why they aren't going with each other, and, Theo talks about how they aren't, that they, even though they're gay, they are friends, and he, right then and there, asks Alyssa to prom, which I thought was very funny, and she happily accepts because, one, she wants to keep her good girl image so she can keep her second virginity, which I think is hilarious that she has a second virginity, but he plans on taking her to prom, and, Cole is taking his boyfriend, so we now have, who's going to prom there. Tamara and Jenna are also then talking about the list and everything, and basically what's going on with that, and basically Jake and Gabby are then basically Jake tells Gabby gives Jake a list of places to go while he's saying his gap year. One of them's like a film school, and they're all things that she wants him to do, but not necessarily what he plans on doing. He plans on going with his parents and working at a restaurant, which I think is fine. He has a job. He's not completely just he's not a slob by any means. He does have a job and he wants to get some money, and all the things that Gabby suggests don't really offer any money. And Gabby tells him that he's pathetic and that she doesn't want to date someone like this, and it seems they've broken up. I don't think Jake and Gabby are going to stay together anymore, and I honestly think he doesn't deserve someone like Gabby. Gabby is really a bitch. She really is in this episode. I really found Gabby to be very bitchy here and very demanding, and clearly she had a different plan for Jake, but here's the thing. Jake's plan might not be to your standards, but you have to respect that. Gabby at least needed to respect what Jake did, and I understand that Gabby maybe didn't want to, but she needed to at least respect, this is what Jake wanted, that Jake didn't want to go, that Jake wanted to take a gap year, and he had a plan out already, and she needed to respect that, which she really didn't, and I definitely don't think things are going to work out well for Jake and Gabby. Neither are Sergio and Sadie. Sergio and Sadie definitely, it's really sad between them, because Sergio tells Sadie, she's come to apologize to him, and he really doesn't want to talk to her. He tells her how, she's been very demanding, and all she does is yell at him, and he's tried to give her the love, and tried to give her a future and everything, and how he really does want to help her, but she's just been way too hard, and he can't do it anymore, and I can understand why. I mean, all this time when Sergio and Sadie have been dating, he's been trying to get her to become a better person, and she really hasn't. She was starting to, but Darlene, the whole Darlene thing really has affected their relationship, unfortunately, and it doesn't seem like Sergio and Sadie are in a good place at all. It seems like they're now broken up, unfortunately, and that's how things end with Sergio and Sadie. Unfortunately, I don't see things going well for them, and I do think they're going to stay broken up, unfortunately. I hope something happens between now and graduation where we do see, them make some sort of amends, because I do feel that's going to happen. But right now, at least, it doesn't seem like there's much, mending of any fences between them. It definitely seems like things are going really bad, and Sadie did not expect this to happen. And again, I always love the moments where Sadie has emotional stuff, because she never really does go through, she's gone through a lot of emotional stuff this season, and just seeing her go through this genuine heartbreak, it's never something she anticipated, and she feels really upset about it, and obviously, she didn't mean to take her anger out on Sergio. She was just really pissed at Darlene, had to take it out on someone, and they always say you take it out on the ones you love most, and I think she really does love Sergio. I think Sergio really does love her, and hopefully they can repair this at some point, but for right now, the relationship is pretty strained, definitely. So Listless with the prom court, and Jenna talks about how she plans on going with Kyle, and Lissa comes up with the scenario of Jenna and Matty winning Prom King and Queen, and you get that very awkward moment where they have to dance together and everything, and obviously things aren't good between them, but again, I don't like seeing Jenna wanting to think that, telling Matty that, oh, this is all okay and that you shouldn't be mad at me. I'm like, he should be mad at her, like, he obviously wanted to be with her, but he should also understand what's going on there. This is really the only complaint I have the episode. I don't like seeing this Jen and Matty drama. It's very redundant, and I felt like we were done with it last week. I felt like last week they established who they were, and even though Matty didn't fully understand it, it seemed like Jen had established that she just wanted to be friends with Matty, and that she loved him that much that she just couldn't tell him that she wanted him to stay, and obviously, she does want to go to prom with him, but I just felt like we were over all this drama, and I really felt it was kind of unnecessary. Not necessarily just, in general, but I felt like in this episode, we really didn't need it, and I felt it was kind of just pointless that we had that. So, long story short, obviously, things don't go well between Jenna and Matty, and Jenna decides to, basically, end the episode, we see that Jenna is asking Tamara to prom, so they're gonna go together, which Tamara's really happy about it. I mean, you can tell that Tamara was really upset over her breakup with Adam, and how, Jenna really does see that, and obviously Tamara's not been herself, and I feel like this is really gonna get Tamara back to her old self, and I like seeing that. And then we see at the end that Sadie goes to Matty, and she's crying, and I've always loved the friendship between the two. I've told you guys before, one of my favorite parts of the show is the genuine friendship between Sadie and Matty. I mean, especially Sadie, a character like that. It's great to see Matty and Sadie have that bond, and they're going to go to prom together, which is awesome, and basically he's going to take her to prom, and that's basically how the episode ends. So overall, guys, this was really a setup episode. A lot did happen in this episode, but I thought overall this was a really great episode. And let's talk about Jen and Matty as a whole. Obviously, Jenna does feel bad what she did to Matty, but I really don't want them to get together. I don't want them to get together during graduation. My fear is that that's where we're going, and I don't want that because Jenna did the right thing, and if she goes with Matty, it's really going to ruin things. I honestly do agree with Tamara that it's best to just leave things alone. She's made that bet already. She's already told him that, what she wants, and he's respected it, so there's no reason really for her to go back and then be like, oh, well, I actually meant this. I just feel that's really stupid if she does do that, and Jenna's a person that is very redundant just in general, so I do feel like that could happen, but I really don't want that to happen. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with prom. I love seeing Lissa as the head of the prom committee. I have no idea what she has planned, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with her and Theo. Definitely it's going to be very funny. Sergio and Sadie, I felt so bad for them. I hope that they can repair things, but at this point it seems like they are broken up. It doesn't seem like they're going to get back together, and obviously she wanted him to take her to prom, but he actually thought it was ridiculous. He probably wasn't going to take her to prom anyway, because that's not what he was focused on, but like I said, I do think that Sergio genuinely does love Sadie, and Sadie, I think, does really love Sergio, but right now, Darlene's kind of fractured things, and while I don't think, we'll ever really see Darlene and Sadie, and they'll never be able to repair that, Sergio and Sadie, I think, have a much better chance of repairing things, maybe not now, but definitely, I think, as the season goes on, something's going to happen between them, and I don't think we should just forget about them. Definitely something's going to happen there. Jake and Gabby, he doesn't deserve her, honestly. Gabby does not deserve him. He is a great guy, and he did all that. He went to all that trouble for her, and just the fact she had the audacity to tell him, I don't want you to go to this, I don't want you to take a gap year, and just because she doesn't want, he's not up to her standards, that's not what it's about. She needs to respect what he's gonna do, and if she's not gonna respect that, he doesn't need to be with her, and I like that Jake said, look, maybe I don't want to be with you, and, I kind of misjudged Gabby. I thought Gabby was gonna be a good person, but no, it seems like she has standards, and when someone doesn't live up to it, she gets really pissed, and you really saw that here, and I really feel that Jake, Jake deserves someone a lot better. So let's see what happens with that. That's going to be interesting to see if they touch more upon Jake and Gabby. I love seeing Theo and Cole in this episode. It's always very funny to watch that. I think it definitely is really great. We do get mention of Val living at their house. Of course, we didn't see too much of Val in this episode. I was hoping we'd see more of Val and Will connect and see that Will really did want to marry her. I want to see more of that. I'm assuming we're going to get to that in the finale, and the second half of the season is going to focus more on that. We'll have to see. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Overall, guys, I thought this was a really great episode. The only thing that ruined it, like I said, is the Matty and Jenna drama. It's very redundant, and at this point, I just feel it's kind of unnecessary. I really do. I mean, they really made, she made that bed. She already made that choice, so she told Matty no, and she needs to respect that. And I get that Jenna doesn't want to do that, but it just felt very pointless, and I wasn't as big of a fan of it as, the show wanted me to be, and unfortunately, it didn't work out as well as it did. But that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you guys saw this episode, and we'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for a 31 Days of Horror movie review, and then we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.